RB here, blogging from paradise. Getting a nice little angle here. I got to be by our little friend Cooper, the Yorkie. We're now sitting here in South Carolina for another 2 days, and then we're off to another region of the state. So, I wanted to share some thoughts on why most people they never seem to be able to change their lives. Maybe you've experienced this yourself, guys. You want to make profound changes. Maybe you want to leave your job to start a business, or you want to sell your home to travel the world, or maybe you're in a difficult relationship that you intuitively, in your heart, know. You just know that it's not going to work. It hasn't been working. It's not going to work. You know these things intellectually, logically, but you never seem to be able to change because you can't change your life if you don't change your mind. You can't change your life if you don't train your mind. You can't change your life if you don't go back into your mind, deeper into your mind, and see the thoughts, the feelings, the beliefs, the belief systems that are the sole creator of your life. Everything you're experiencing now is what is in your mind. That's the starting point. And most people, they never seem to be able to change their life. Nothing ever seems to be able to. Note when I use the word seems, it's an appearance, it's an illusion. So nothing seems to be able to work out for them or change for them, or they can't experience long-term change because the only reason is, guys, the only reason is because they don't go back into their mind to see the belief systems, the thoughts, the feelings that are creating the life. That's it. It's that simple. It really is that simple. And even though it's uncomfortable to face and feel fears that have scared you into choosing your life, and that's what happens. It appears that fear is scaring you, feels uncomfortable. It actually gets easier to change your life because you realize that it's just a thought and feeling in your mind. And it has nothing to do with the circumstances outside, the situations outside, the people outside, the laws outside, the politicians outside, the government outside, the boss outside. And it's not outside. That's another secret. It's never outside. Everything is in your mind because your mind is all encompassing. It's not this little ephemeral box sitting in the meathead, the puppet head, the body head. It's not. You and I were connected. We're all one. And we see in the mind that's not trained through the ego the illusion of separation or fragmentation. But this is another reality that you slowly start to discover when you go back into your mind and train it. You have to train it and go back into your mind that there is no separation. And it's something I'm slowly starting to learn now. There is no fragmentation. There's no differences. It's just one spirit that appears to be separate. And this is actually totally liberating because once you understand that, even a little bit, if you get a glimpse, you'll realize that all the perceived obstacles in your life are imagined. Those people, circumstances, situations that you think through the ego and its limits and its illusions of fear are the sole reason why you can't change your life. I'll give an example. A lot of people work a job because of predominantly a fear in their mind that they have not faced, felt, and released that is a silent. I'm closing my eyes to think about it because I remember when I worked jobs for this reason, because of the fear in my mind. A silent terror of what would happen if I lost all my money and went broke. I have to work this job. I can't face that fear. I can't even think about it. Not having money, looking like a loser, looking like just being embarrassed and ashamed, or the horror of not having food or shelter, being homeless. So there's all these fears in billions of people's minds that they don't face, they don't go within, and that fear sits there, and they make this decision to give 40 hours a week and 40 years of their human experience to not facing that fear. And ditto for the fear of not having benefits. So this terror of what happens, I'm terrified if I'm going to I'd get sick and die. I'm terrified that that would happen. That terror is in a lot of people's minds. So rather than face it, feel it and release it, along with facing, feeling, and releasing the fear of losing all their money and being homeless and starving. And on a logical level, this sounds absurd to most of us because you're like, oh, I'm not afraid. Emotionally, not logically. This is why people are depressed with their jobs. This is why people talk about soul-sucking jobs. This is why people sprint home on the weekends because the Friday afternoon because they feel free, and then being depressed about Monday. It's because they're working a job they don't want to work because they're absolutely batshit in their mind, terrified to go broke, to be homeless, to get sick and die. And that's why no matter how they try to leave the job, no matter the promotions, like to a quote unquote better job, or just a job that they enjoy more, or the business they think of, and they're like, man, that business would be exciting to start a business and be started part-time, maybe even do it full-time. You have ample savings where you could live off your savings for a couple of years. Man, that sounds awesome. But then you appear to self-sabotage, and it's 100% of the time because of the fear in your mind that you're not facing. So nothing seems to change, not because of anything out there, but because the fear in your mind that you're projecting onto the world and projecting onto your boss, who appears to hold you down, and project onto the job and this crappy salary and these crappy tasks at your job. You just hate your job. You hate it. You hate it. You hate it. Nothing seems to change. I mean, financially for people, everything seems to stay the same because they don't face the fears in their mind that are causing the financial problems. Once you clear those fears, you're not going to have the financial problems because you'll be thinking, feeling, and acting abundantly. And when you think, feel, and act abundantly, you live an abundant life. Money is one of a trillions of forms of abundance. Support, love. I mean, you're just surrounded by support, guys. The more you train your mind, you'll see it. If you don't train your mind, you don't go within, you'll see fear and poverty, scarcity, and you'll experience it. People's lives do not seem to change, and maybe you're in this same boat because they do not train their mind. They do not go back into their mind and see that most people live through the ego. And when you live through the ego and its illusions, its fears, I mean, it's fears. Fear is an illusion. It's not real. Only love is real. It's illusions. It's victim mentality, blaming mentality, powerless mentality. Of course, your life's not going to change because you'll keep being the victim, being powerless, blaming, fighting, straining, striving. And on an even worse worldly level, you'll look around you and you'll see so many billions of other humans living through the ego who appear to live in the same fashion that doesn't appear to be too sane. But since they're living that way too, the ego in you says, or I'll call it the ego says, that's normal. And that's the way life is supposed to be. So then you don't go into your mind and find the root of all of your problems and why things aren't changing, but you say, no, that's reality. Same stuff. We've heard the saying, same shit, different day. Same shit, different day. Another day, just more problems, more headaches. And none of these ideas are true, but because so many people appear to be living in the same madness and insanity through the ego, you say, oh, life isn't going to change for me. This is just how it's going to be. And that's not true. That's just because that's a belief in your mind. If you're willing to train your mind and go deeper and become aware of your thoughts and feelings, and not to lay a thin veneer of false positivity. People say, oh, be positive. That's great. That's great. But a lot of people in their mind, there's like a little bit of positivity up top and keep it super positive and then underneath there's this thick sludge of fear backed by guilt and grief and rage and self-hate that has been accumulated for when they were this small, but when they were a baby and growing up, from when they were an infant, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, 70 years of the ego winding them up with fear, separation, guilt, grief, racism, sexism, just all of these insane concepts. So your life's not going to change if you don't change your mind. Your life's not going to change if you don't train your mind. You change your life by renewing your mind. I think about, remember Bob Proctor used to talk about the Apostle Paul in the Bible. I think it was Paul. Be transformed by the renewal of your mind. And this is the whole book, A Course in Miracles. That's all it is. It's Jesus sharing mind training tips. That's all that it is. It's not even religious, A Course in Miracles. That's what's interesting about it. It's Christian in some presentation because he brings up the Christ. He brings up some points in the Bible where there was understanding and some where there was misunderstandings. But it's not a religious book. It's a book, a manual of mind training that reminds us nothing real can be threatened and nothing unreal exists. And that's the peace of God. We're all God. Everything else is an illusion. The separation is an illusion. We're all one. The body is an illusion. But you have to train your mind and retreat from the world, pull back from the world, step away from the world, migrate away from the world until you let it go and forgive it to train your mind. Time spent in quiet, reading and applying A Course in Miracles. There's meditating, there's doing Kriya Yoga, observing your thoughts. These are just different practical ideas, but so much of it just comes down to understanding that your life's going to change when you burrow deep into your mind and find the mental blocks, the fears, and the limiting beliefs that are in your mind that make you appear to be the illusion of being stuck. And it doesn't matter how hard you work. Your life won't change until you train your mind, until you get deeper into your mind and you find out where you're stopping yourself. It doesn't matter how long you work. Trust me, I've tried it. Some aspects of my life, the past 15 years of my life, there's some aspects, 15, I mean, really, we're talking decades, but especially business-wise and blogging-wise, there are some aspects that really haven't changed a ton, and it's been only because of the fear in my mind, and I'm seeing that now. That's the beauty of it, and the mental blocks, because I'm getting into the course. And I'm seeing some points that have changed a little bit and they haven't, and others that have changed more, and it's always been my mind. And that's the beauty of this gig. People's lives don't seem to be able to change because they don't change their mind. They don't renew their mind. They don't train their mind. And that means stepping out of the world. Who do we got here? Oh! Huh. Hey, you. I was talking to someone. Hey, Najib. What's up, my friend? I was talking to somebody on YouTube. Hey, my friend on YouTube, too. Spammer, doesn't matter. Much love, man. Much love. Your life changes when you go within to see why your life's not changing. Now, most people, they live through the ego, so they say that person, they look at appearances and circumstances, and they appear to be the victims of appearance and circumstances that dominate them and keep them where they're at. I want to leave my job, but I have a good salary. There's a term that's used which is not sane. It's called a good job, where on a worldly level, it means that, well, you're making a lot of money, or that there's a lot of prestige, all these worldly concepts, or there's good benefits. But it's not sane because the human being who says that and claims that it's a good job doesn't think about their freedom, discounts their freedom, discounts their peace, discounts their happiness, discounts their joy, discounts how they're best helping humanity. So it's like there's these fear-based worldly concepts. Money. You live in abundance, you can get anything you want. Health benefits. We're all intrinsically completely healthy. Problems only arise when we bury our fear, guilt. That's when the real stuff really starts. So you have all the, and you think, I'll forget my freedom, forget my peace, forget my happiness, forget my joy. I just don't want to face the terror of losing everything, getting sick and dying. So then folks make the not really sane, happy, freeing decision of devoting 40 years, 40 hours a week of their human experience not facing that fear. When you think this through, guys, it's highly uncomfortable. And that's why most people, they would rather, I remember, I forget who, some coach or whoever, who was it? He penned the quote, most people would rather die than think. It's true. And we see it because most people, they live through the ego. So rather than change their lives by thinking, by digging deep into their mind and seeing, why is this happening? What's in my mind? Why am I projecting? Why am I reliving these experiences? They go on and they rush through life from an energy of fear through the ego, and they proceed to die this thing. They place it aside, sometimes violently, and then the infinite spirit that we all are, the unlimited mind, it just keeps going and going and going. But the human drama is over. They die, quote unquote, the human body is put aside without really thinking. And that's very common on planet Earth, in the world in general, but especially on planet Earth. So when you consider that statement, and if your life is like, man, I can't, nothing seems to change, bad relationships, bad girlfriends, bad boyfriends, and domestic life, my family, there's just so much drama and problems, and my friends, and I thought they were my friend. These people are not digging into their mind to see that they're projecting their fears, their guilt, their grief onto the world, which is creating these reflections that come back to them. Everything's you. It's all your mind, which is incredibly liberating because if you change your mind, that ends. And you step into peace and you step into joy and into love. But as you change your mind, as you train your mind, you have to unwind the fears that are creating this stuckness. So again, as a practical example, I want to leave my job. I feel stuck there. Nothing seems to be changing no matter what I do. And then it's like, okay, dig into your mind and face the horror, the fear, the grief, whatever's there that's creating this attachment to the job, because that's why you're stuck at the job, because of your mind. So when you start feeling the fears, these deep, visceral, pulsating fears of losing all your money, losing your name, losing your family, family moving out, husband moving out, wife moving out, kids, because you have to go there in your mind. I have. Hasn't hurt me. Like Kelly and I, it's challenging, but we live a really cool, freeing life. We circle the globe, we travel all over the world. We had to face these fears to unstick ourselves, not to be stuck, to keep moving and growing and evolving and serving and helping and being and experiencing life and freedom. We had to do it. But look at the upside: happiness, peace. And it's still really uncomfortable in moments. We're still facing fears as we unwind. But when you start unwinding those fears, guys, it feels unpleasant in the moment. But on the other side, you start seeing opportunities you hadn't seen before. Opportunities for leaving the job flow to you. The business starting at part-time sounds more attractive. You find mentors, and then slowly and surely and gracefully, you leave the job and you get unstuck because you cleared the fears that created the illusion that you were stuck. Ditto for relationships. Maybe you're been in some rough relationships, or you just seem to always attract the wrong guy or the wrong gal. Then the deeper you go into your mind, you're going to realize that the wrong guy or the wrong gal is simply reflecting gal your fears back to you. Your mind is reflected back to you. We see the world and everyone in it as we see ourselves, because we're all connected as one. This is incredible. Talk about liberating. You could not even find the ideal match, your match, love, harmony, peace, that romantic partner can flow to you. Got to get into your mind. You can't do the victim mentality thing that's so common, and it's how the ego lives, but it's so common in the world. People, oh, this happened to me, poor me, bad luck, and always, guys are jerks. And it's like, if you hold that feeling, then all guys will be jerks, not because they are, but because you're sending out the signal, the reflection. Guys are jerks. I'm going to project it on the world, and the jerk will come back to you, not because of them, but because of your projection. Change your projection. There's so many good guys out there, then there are. A lot of this line of thinking sounds insane to most people because their mind is so untrained and, for lack of a better term, weak with the illusion of fear, that you'll say, no, it really is out there controlling me. So things never change for them. They never appear to change. But when you start to question the world and its insanity, and you look at people that have greater freedom and you see how they think, you begin to say to yourself in your mind, maybe I should start thinking like them and being as they're being, because they're free, largely, happy, peaceful, unattached, trusting, loving, having fun. Maybe I should think like them and not like these folks who are victims and fighting and straining and striving because they're doing things through the ego and its fears, and they're not going back into their mind, and they keep saying, the world's doing this to me, and this person's doing this to me, and that politician's doing this to me, and that law, and this party, and this country, and this nightmare, and this terrible, terrible people, bad people. You see the world as you see yourself. The way to change your life is to change your mind. Apostle Paul, be transformed by the renewal of your mind. Renewing of the mind requires renewing of the mind, training, changing. Depth. There's depth to this. It's not, read a couple positive affirmations, because all of us who aren't enlightened have this ring of fear accompanied by just all types of guilt, grief, self-hate, and rage. That's just been injected seemingly into our minds, and since our minds weren't trained, we accepted it. So we unwind it by training the mind, and then you see, oh, I could do whatever I want, from a place of high energy love, and I could change my life. I could be in a different relationship. I don't have to live same shit, different day. It doesn't have to be like that. Each day, each moment could be fun and freeing and an opportunity for experience and light and love. It really can, genuinely. But you have to train your mind. You have to go into your mind. If you're willing to do that, the road gets a little bumpy, but it's always liberating, and it becomes more and more peaceful and fun and freeing predominantly over time. If you don't, your life will never appear to change, and it will just be this like trying to slowly and cautiously step into the grave. I think of Bob Proctor. He said most people, when their life ends, when the heart stops beating, it's a formality. He's saying they didn't live. They didn't experience life. They didn't live freedom. They didn't be. They weren't just soaking it up and loving and having fun and being happy. It was a prolonged state that appeared to be death, and then there was that alleged physical death when the body was placed aside and the infinite spirit with the unlimited mind. Okay, leaving this plane. Change your life by changing your mind. Change your life by training your mind. The reality is, guys, you and I were all connected as an infinite spirit that continues forever and ever and ever with this unlimited mind. So an infinite spirit, unlimited mind, it can't get stuck. It can't be forced to stay in the same spot. The only thing that can is the ego, the part of you that's a death wish, that thinks you're actually a body, really, that thinks you're this limited mind, that thinks you're your fears, that thinks you're your personality, that thinks you're your characteristics. That part can appear to get stuck. And of course, because it's a victim. And it says, this person's stopping me, not we're connected in infinity. No, this body's stopping me, and this circumstance is stopping me, and this law and this fear. So that's why you have to step out of that world by going into your mind and seeing what you're doing from the fear and ego and unwinding that stuff, feeling it, forgiving it, letting it go, and doing more from love, from the infinity, the true part of you, your heart, serving people, having fun, trusting in God, trusting in Christ, trusting in the Holy Spirit. If you're an atheist, trusting in your gut, that intuitive nudge that just says, here, move in this direction. Basically trusting in anything other than the illusion of fear, right? But you're not going to get unstuck by trying to change circumstances, by trying to change situations, because then you're looking at the outside and not into your mind. And how's that going to wind up? You probably know I've suffered, a lot of my life from that. Now I'm really learning it has to happen with your mind first. Because the more you try to manipulate and change the outside, you're giving your attention and energy to the outside, and you're noticing the outside, and you notice what you don't like, and you notice what's rough, and you try to control, and you keep reliving Groundhog Day, and things never change because you don't go into your mind and see that's the source of things never changing or never appearing to change. You change the mind, it's it. It's beautiful when you really get into this, guys. It's liberation, it's freedom. It's why these enlightened beings like Jesus and Yogananda and Sri Teshwar and Babaji and Sri Ramana Maharshi, and just look down over time, over the centuries, over the millennia, why they trained their minds until their minds became perfected, which saw that duality is an illusion. This whole world is an illusion. We're all infinite spirits, really united as one. We're all one part of God. That's all. That's the only reality. This whole world of the bodies and this and that, and they remind you when they showed you what they did with the bodies. that you're part of the whole. You're part of the whole. You are the whole. And then, of course, as you just slowly start making your way towards that state in your mind, then yeah, you're not going to be stuck, because you'll see all the solutions are there, all the answers are there. You'll allow them in intuitively through prayer and through silence and observation. But you have to commit to training your mind, and that happens when you just shut that door, put away the phone, put away the computer, and you begin training your mind and asking yourself, what fears in my mind are causing this? What am I projecting? Why do I appear to be stuck? Because your experience, this human experience that we all have, this temporary, blip on the radar screen, is your mind. Being stuck is your mind being reflected back to you. You face the fears that appears to be creating the stuckness, and you stop being stuck, and the opportunities come to you. The people come to you. You're no longer a victim. You're like, oh man, this is not happening to me. This is happening for me to see what's in my mind. It's really awesome. It's freedom. You'll be liberated. Doesn't that sound attractive? To be liberated and to have fun and enjoy the process. What time is it? I got a call coming up in a bit, interview. Just want to have some lunch, but that's it for today, guys. Remember, I run a blog called bloggingfromparadise.com. I focus on blogging tips, but I add a lot of mindset tips to the blog posts and the ebooks I've self-published. A couple, pulled a lot of them from Amazon. I have a few on Gumroad and Cells, and also a couple courses I've published, one on Gumroad, one on Cells for blogging. But if you like these personal development themed videos, consider checking out my blog. The website is bloggingfromparadise.com. I know some of you are well aware of that. Know me for a while, follow my blog for a while, but I'm getting a lot of new folks are finding my blog as I just get clearer my intent and have more fun with this and feel more detached. So I teach people how to retire to a life of island hopping through smart blogging at bloggingfromparadise.com. So if that life sounds attractive to you, if you think, wow, that'd be pretty freeing to be able to circle the globe. My wife Kelly and I have been doing it for 11 years now. We first traveled to Bali in 2011, and open-ended trip. We had no idea. We're thinking, Kelly had traveled before. I'd never been on a plane, never traveled internationally. Last vacation was like 1987, like 30 years prior. No, 25 years prior, ironically enough, not ironically, right down the road in Charleston, South Carolina, which is where we're heading in 2 days. We're heading right outside to Somerville. But loved it. Been doing it for 11 years. Came back to the States quite a bit. In 2020, we became full-time digital nomads, house sold. Now we are full-time nomads. So we just travel. We've been traveling through the Northeast, New England, Northeast U.S., Southeast. We also did a 5-month trip to Panama in 2021. So if this life sounds really fun and freeing and fascinating, and even if you don't want to become a digital nomad and sell the home and all that and just do travel time, even if you want to do trips here and there or add more traveling to your itinerary, the blog could be a really fun way to learn how to travel for a bit and blog. And I keep things very simple. None of what I do is complex. I really simplify the blog posts, the videos, the podcasts, the courses, and the ebooks so anybody could read them, gain the practical tips, and act on them immediately to begin benefiting from them. Of course, you'll need patience, generosity, persistence. So guys, just wanted to add that. I've been adding that to more of the videos and podcasts because I know more people are finding me, and because I'm getting clearer on sharing it. Make sure you stop by if this interests you, this life of freedom and travel and just connecting the world. It's fun. Make sure you stop by bloggingfromparadise.com. Give it a look. I love you guys. Thank you so much for helping me out over the years. We do this like everything as a team. So much love. Have a great morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. See you later, Facebook. Thanks, Najib. Apparently, Facebook doesn't want me to finish.